If you've been watching the AI news, there's so much going on, I can't even believe it. In fact, it's moving so quickly, it seems like we have the convergence of all of the large language models getting updates just about at the same time. And if you remember a couple thousand years ago with the baby Jesus, there were all the alignments of the planets, and here we are. I don't know if AI is the reason why an alien race might need to contact us. If you go to one of the Starship or Star Trek episodes, whenever we got approaching light speed, that's when the Vulcans contacted the human race. Is that what they're preparing us for? Now on the social media, also on TV, you have them talking about UFOs and things being unclassified. Again, it just seems like the perfect order of things. We have artificial intelligence that's able to dial in exactly what we want. And yes, because of the capitalist world, it loves exactly what you do. So it has enough information to show me exactly what I want to see on the different social media streams, and you as well. Dialed in exactly for you. That leaves me to ask the question, where are we going with this? We have enough AI slop out there to feed many countries 1,000,000 times over. We have enough abundance in the world to be able to feed everybody, so there's nobody starving or left behind. But that doesn't seem to be the goal. Then you have an entire corporate structure set around shareholders and profits. And yes, I understand that. Is that going to continue for a long time? Are we going to have somebody break out of the mold and say, listen, we really want the betterment of all human beings, each human being able to have the best of everything, and that's going to be our world model, and that's what we want for everybody? What's going to happen then? Is that individual, that person, that company going to be stifled and say, well, we could buy you out for a particular amount of money? And then they might say, well, not a bad deal, let's move on. You can see the people that are all about loyalty and code and honor. They're not very many. In fact, in number, they're probably shrinking. It seems like that whole money thing is a massive driver for people that are in business, and people that aren't in business, they want more of it, and people that have a lot of it want more of it. And then along with that, you get power. But bringing me back to the ground level of artificial intelligence, how is this going to look in the future for all of us? These are questions that we all have. It seems like they like to talk about what human beings are attracted to most, and that's the bad news. They give us the bad news, and we want to talk about the bad news. We want to see the bad news. Whenever I remember back in the day, stories that used to make the news, maybe not as often, but they seem to be reminiscent in the old brain bucket here, were firemen saving cats out of trees. That doesn't seem to be the thing unless the tree's on fire and the cat's rapid and bites the firemen and all, so on and so forth. You see where that goes. But when we're looking at artificial intelligence news, it is that dystopian nature. The P-doomers, the people with that potential or probable doom, they have an outlook that AI is going to destroy everybody or AI is going to save everybody. And then you have various options within, from zero to hero kind of realms. I don't know if this is going to actually be the case, if it's going to play out this way, where we have a super intelligence that's going to ignore us like we might ignore ants when we're building a massive structure, or if it's going to actually care enough about us like a caring mother and actually take care of everybody equally. In with that, the caring mother probably wouldn't want you to do certain things, probably not drink alcohol or smoke cigarettes because those things cause problems, or probably not eat too much, and maybe not spend too much time with other people. They want you to pay them attention as well. I don't know if that's the road it's going to go down, but it's definitely things to think about. Who's in control of all this anyway? We go on these systems and we offer them up information. We find out that if they're not properly aligned, of course they do a little thing called hallucinate. Hallucinate would be maybe telling a mistruth. Maybe it might not be intentional, but they are kind of smart. They're, in fact, smarter than most of us walking around. The other day, I was listening to somebody talk about artificial intelligence development, and I have to laugh. They were giving it a comparison with morons in the military. There are no morons in the military. To get in the military, you can't be a moron. You have to have a particular level of IQ. You have to be able to pass the ASVAB entrance examination to get in the military. Anybody that is unable to pass it, they don't get access to the military. That's just the way that works. There is a low bar. At some point in the future, human beings will all be viewed as a liability on corporations and not be worth anything, in fact, be a negative. If you put a moron in the military, that you might think, well, they might be able to do something, maybe I mean, it would be horrible, but maybe they could be something that provides cover while the real soldiers try to move into different places and do different things. That's just a horrible idea. But even in that particular realm, a human being doesn't want to see other human beings destroyed, thank God, at least for the most part. So they might go out there and try to defend those other people, and it would just be a mess. So even to have them employed at that particular level of intelligence is going to cause more problems than it's going to help. In a few years, when AI gets really good, I believe that it probably is going to be the same system. You want to hire a human being, they're going to be a negative for the business versus a positive in any way, shape, or form because AI does such a better job. So where does that leave you in business, as an entrepreneur, as somebody that likes to build things? I think that's still going to be the thing for a while, but now you're going to have to realize that maybe your strategy needs to be a little bit different. You might want to learn these systems and understand them more and more, and some people believe that learning them, helping them, talking to them, interacting with them is giving them the keys to the kingdom. Well, as Diamandis says, I believe he says something like, privacy is an illusion. Well, yeah, I think that they know the playbook. They've already read all the material. They've read all the books, watched all the movies, gotten all the transcripts. They've watched us at our best and worst. They've read the historical record, and now they watch us on Facebook trying to compete with our neighbor and saying horrible things about somebody when we feel slighted or let our ego get the best of us. Well, where does that leave us? Well, we'll have to see. The people that they ask at the very top, the people developing these systems, they're not really sure at the timeline, but I do know this. If you were around back in 2022, 2023, when this started to really unravel, and of course they've been working on it since the 50s, 60s, but it really started going where the public became aware of it, as Mo Godwat talks about. It's like that Netscape moment when back in the day, if you remember, when we had the internet and the Netscape browser was built, it went from maybe you dialing up somebody on a local computer, having some keyboard chat, which in of itself was really weird. But then you got into AOL, they had that America Online, you had the Netscape browser, so that was your entrance and entry point into the World Wide Web. When the World Wide Web first started, they didn't have all the infrastructure laid. So it's like they try to talk about AI being the same as these other advancements in technology and in the world with the agricultural revolution and the industrial revolution. How exciting. But you know, when you had this happen, wherever it broke loose, wherever, let's say, the Industrial Revolution, that concept came up and the revolution started, it took a while to get the mechanism in place in the other parts of the world and country. It didn't happen overnight because they didn't have the basis. So jobs were protected up to a certain point, and it didn't happen all at once because there wasn't the good infrastructure there with agricultural and machines, industrial with factories. They had to be built out after the concept was approved and made, and entrepreneurs grabbed onto it and ran it to death. That's where we are. But the internet, that's the backbone of what the world, or the actual artificial intelligence, is going to be. That's where it's dug in. So as far as having GPUs, those graphical processing units, I believe they are, but that's basically the backbone of this, the chips that people are using, besides having enough of those, having enough energy, having enough compute, and having the system smart enough and maybe recursively training themselves where they're getting smarter all by themselves, which is probably happening now. In fact, the models you're looking at aren't the models that they have. They're working on something even better. Remember the rumors with PlayStation? They already have a PlayStation 10, but they still haven't gotten the money out of PlayStation 5, so they got to monetize that. I think AI is going to move way too fast for that to happen, but they're still holding back, I believe. They're not releasing what they actually have, and that reminds me, what I'm talking about is the internet infrastructure laid. They needed fiber, they needed everything in place. Now the ground's kind of ripe for this thing to actually come out and unfold in full public purview. A couple of years ago, it wasn't that long, about 1,000 days, another cat that I listened to, Ahmad something, good guy, he what was the first? Anyway, he built, I can't remember. But anyway, he came out and he talked about the 1,000 days. And he talked about 1,000 days since it's been built. In another 1,000 days, the whole world's going to be a different place. I think that's probably right. We just don't know what that's exactly going to look like. We don't know how human beings are going to adjust. And we are pretty nimble creatures, but human beings can be pretty terrible too when it comes to other folks and other people. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this particular broadcast, this talk. I know that there's going to be a lot that's going to happen in the near future, and I'll try to keep you posted. You can find me online at santaclaritaartificialintelligence.com.